Councilmember McCoy? Councilmember Rodriguez?
Here.
Councilmember Yarbrough?
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As a reminder to the public, in accordance with the council's rules of procedure, the rules for providing public comment are as follows. Only Longmont residents and employees of the city of Longmont may speak during the very first call, public invited to be heard. You must provide your address on the sign-up sheet before the meeting, or I will not call your name. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Anyone may speak on second reading on public hearing items, and you are asked to add your name to the speaker list for the specific item before the meeting. But anyone may speak during final call, public invited to be heard. Members of the audience shall refrain from disruptive, vulgar, or abusive language, applause, heckling, or other actions that interfere with the orderly function of the council. So we'll move on to the agenda to move the June 25th, 2024 minutes.
Mayor, I move the June 25th, 2024 minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilor McCoy to move the 2024 minutes of June 25th, seconded by Councilor Hidalgo Faring. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote.
Mayor, can we do a verbal vote on this?
Pardon me, I didn't hear.
A verbal vote?
Sure, we'll do a verbal vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you. We are now at the agenda revisions and submissions of documents and motions to direct the city manager to add agenda items to future agendas. I am going to, I can't get rid of this. No, I did. So I am going to turn this over to Councilor Martin. At the request, she made a request that she would like to address council and the residents. So I'm turning it over to Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Pat. Just 1 second, I've only got one screen here. All right. Residents of Longmont, I feel obliged to explain why I'm currently participating in council meetings remotely and how long I expect this to continue. It has taken me several weeks to arrive at a reasonable answer, but I'm doing my best to keep doing my job through emergencies, my own illness, stress, and uncertainty. Tonight, I'm trying to explain and make a promise for the future. I place my duty and hopes for the city of Longmont second only to my duty and hopes for my family. I'm grateful that I have the means to try to address both duties, even at a time that is fraught with cares. I hope for your understanding and support as I do what I must. Some of you already know that my only child has complex health problems and a history of trauma that was outside her control. Recently, this has culminated in a mental health crisis that demands my close presence and participation in her life if she is to recover. The details are not mine to share. Serving on council, we learn the difficulty our society has in addressing such illness and the unfair stigma that makes even discussing the matter hard. I had hoped to understand my daughter's prognosis well enough by now to set a firm date for my return. Sadly, that is not the case. The best care team that I could assemble simply can't predict it. My child is riding a roller coaster. So here is my promise to you, the residents of Longmont, about my service. I will continue to do this job for the remainder of my term while I can be effective. That will be important in the coming months. We know our decisions on the budget will be tough, and some other difficult issues may come before council as well. A 6-member board is weakened because it can deadlock, and tie votes always fail. But certain decisions will require positive action of this council, such as approving the budget. My plan includes me making at least 1 and probably 2 short trips back to Colorado to participate in person at strategic times. After much soul searching, I've concluded that if I cannot return to Longmont permanently by the end of 2024, I will not be able to stay connected enough to serve on council responsibly. I will then step aside and let the charter provisions for replacing a council member take effect. I regret this, but if my family trouble is not resolved, I won't be serving in 2025. You can count on that. And in the meantime, to the best of my ability, you can count on me. I ask and hope for your support in this. I'm doing my best. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Peck.
You're welcome. Councilor Martin, writing and reading your statement must have been a very difficult task. I personally sympathize with the position you're in. Family comes first, and circumstances put all of us in a place where difficult decisions must be made. Attending
Thank
meetings
you.
virtually is a new phenomenon which was brought on by the pandemic, and we have never had a request for a long-term virtual attendance by a council member. Whatever the majority of council decides will set a precedent for future requests. So your letter and statement deserves a robust discussion by council. For that reason, and because we have a full agenda tonight, I'm going to add the discussion to our pre-session on July 16th. As a reminder to the public, those pre-sessions are public and you can listen into them. Thank you, Councilor Martin, for your statement. With that, are there any other councilors that would like to add agenda items to other meetings? Councilor Christ?
Actually, I have 2 items that I wanted to discuss. The first one is in regards to the extension for the open space tax that we voted on. We've had some discussion since then about perhaps putting out a survey, especially now that our staff has come up with a plan for us to just very easily send out surveys. We don't know how nuanced that could be, but it is a way to engage the public with what we plan to put on the ballot in November. So I guess I would like to ask staff to bring back what a survey would entail and the parameters of that. And then secondarily, I would also like to ask, we've had a few great applicants for our appointments, and I wonder if there's a way to take those that aren't appointed to those boards and give them an option to fill in the gaps that we have on other boards.
So I hear 2 issues,
Yes,
which would
ma'am.
be 2 different motions.
Yes.
So could you start with the first one and make a motion for that?
Okay, the first motion, I would ask staff to bring back information regarding a survey on the sales tax extension initiative for open space slated for the ballot in November.
I will second that, but would you tell us exactly what it is you want on that survey? Is it?
We've just started having a discussion about how much information we could put on that and if it would drive the ballot language or if it would be more just to engage the public with what we're planning to put out there and give them an idea, get them interested and excited about it.
Okay, so I will second that motion. The motion to direct staff to bring back a short survey for the public on our extension of the open space tax for the November ballot. Was made by Diane Christ, Councilor Christ, and I seconded that. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. And that, 1, 2, 3, that passes with Counselor Hidalgo Ferry and Counselor McCoy opposing. And myself, Counselor Yarbrough, Counselor Diane Chris, Counselor Martin, and Counselor Rodriguez in support. Seeing no one else in the queue, I do have a couple of things that I would like.
Oh, I have a second motion.
Oh, that's right. I'm
Sorry.
sorry. You have a second motion. Go for it.
As a second motion, I move that we offer an open board seat to those who applied for a board position but are not appointed to the board positions that they have applied for. But we can offer them others that are available.
So Counselor Chris made the motion that we offer the open board seats that have not been filled to anyone who applied for a board seat but did not get appointed to that board they applied for.
Yeah.
So if we have any open board seats and you applied for a seat but was not appointed, then we would offer the open board seats.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Counselor Martin.
Just a point of clarification, are we discussing this now, or are we adding that discussion to a future agenda?
To a future agenda, Counselor. And I am waiting, would anyone like to second this motion? Seeing no one, hearing no second, it fails for the lack of a second.
Okay.
So, thank you. I do have, I'm going to make a motion just for the discussion. I move that council opens a process for requests for proposals, RFP, for the streaming, oh shoot, this always pops up in my, for the streaming of city council meetings, Longmont Housing Authority meetings, and videos as needed.
I'll second that.
Okay, this motion's been seconded by Counselor Hidalgo Faring. And I'll tell you why I'm making this motion. Here we go again. Council and staff have been approached by an organization that is interested in providing this service and would like an opportunity to bid on the contract. When we chose LPM, it was not a request for proposal. We did not go out for bids, Longmont Public Media. It was a council appointment. But now that someone else wants to be able to have the opportunity to offer that service to us, it has to go out for a bid. The organization that fulfills our contract, LPM, was appointed by council. And by opening the process instead of appointing a company, the process is more equitable and competitive. So is there any discussion? Councilor Martin is,
Yes, I would just like to point out that the mayor's statement is factually incorrect. When the contract for the cable trust revenue stream was awarded to Longmont Public Media, it was in fact, that grant was put out for bid. 3 organizations bid on it. The Longmont Observer Corporation, the former Cable Trust Organization, and an individual who I think might have been an LLC. All 3 bid, and LPM was selected. And the terms of that contract are clear. I would believe that although it is reasonable for the council to decide that contract should be reconsidered from time to time, that we're a little bit late in the budget game for doing that this year, and that the council possibly could resolve to do it next year. The deal here is we already know that there's not going to be a lot of ability for the council to change the size and shape of awards for not just this contract, but many contracts because of the way the city budget is shaping up. And so it seems like that maybe we should regularize the process of putting that up for bid frequently, but not every year because it would be too disruptive. So I would hope that the mayor would accept a friendly amendment to say that we schedule that decision for 2025.
Thank you for that input, and no, I don't think that I will accept that friendly amendment. I would like to ask staff about Councilor Martin's correction on the appointment of LPM. Was that a staff decision whether it was bid out or not, or was it a council decision?
That was a council decision in terms of whether we bid it out. It was bid out, and I believe there were, I know one, if not two council members that were on the selection committee in conjunction with staff. This is the only contract that the council directly controls. And so that was the direction, is to bid it out at that time. And I believe that was, where's Sandy? 4 years ago.
Okay. So are there any other comments? Seeing none, let's vote. Yes.
I'm sorry, can you repeat what you're?
Sure. I have to get back and read it. I move that council opens a process for requests for proposals, an RFP, for live streaming of city council meetings, Longmont Housing Authority meetings, and videos as needed.
But there's no time.
Well, it would have to be, it'd have to be during this budget process. Because we're looking at renewing contracts now. So it would have to be. Right, it would go on a future agenda during our budget process. Where did it go? So that passes 4-3 with Councilor McCoy, Councilor Martin, and Councilor Rodriguez opposing, with myself, Councilor Hidalgo-Faring, Councilor Yarbrough, and Councilor Christ approving. Thank you. Seeing no other requests to put things on future agendas, we'll move on to the city manager's report.
No report, Mayor and Council.
No. So we are now at special reports and presentations, and I have a proclamation. This is a proclamation designating July 1st through the 31st, 2024 as Mediator Appreciation Month in Longmont, Colorado. Whereas Longmont Mediation Services, a volunteer-based community mediation program, is dedicated to transformative belief that community members themselves can learn to resolve their own conflicts and by doing so foster peace and justice, benefiting the city as a whole. And whereas the mediator is a neutral person who assists the parties in discussing the situation and reaching a solution that will be effective and practical for everyone involved. And whereas all mediators, especially our dedicated volunteers, play a crucial role in the success and sustainability of the City of Longmont's mediation services. And whereas mediation is faster and less expensive than legal proceedings. And whereas Susan Spalding, Community Relations Specialist for the City of Longmont, has been a dedicated and distinct mediator for over 16 years, consistently demonstrating kindness, empathy, and commitment, and her dedication of resolving conflicts and fostering understanding has positively impacted the lives of countless individuals and families in our community. Now therefore, I, Joan Peck, Mayor, by virtue of the authority vested in me and the City Council of the City of Longmont, do hereby proclaim the month of July 2024 as Mediator Appreciation Month in Longmont, Colorado, and urge all residents to recognize the invaluable service of all mediators that service our community. So I would like to ask Susan Spalding to come up. Sarah Arney, who else is on here? Whoever wants to receive this proclamation who is part of this community and mediation service. Where did I see that?
If you would indulge me for just a minute, I'd like to make another brief statement.
Absolutely, Susan.
First, I want to thank the City of Longmont for the extraordinary and rare opportunity to engage my whole soul and mind in the practice of mediation. Not mediation as a profession, but mediation as a way of living in this beautiful world, and to practice over and over again with the most crazy and interesting and beautiful people of Longmont. Please never let your support for mediation fade, but only increase as we mature as a community to set aside our assumptions about each other and learn to listen. As my friend Phyllis Rostenberg says, mediate everything. Second, I would like to recognize in particular, there's several really special mediators in this room with us tonight. One is Miss Sharon Eisler. Sharon has been mediating at eviction court and for our services since she was a small child, for at least 30 years. And she continues to mediate in eviction court every Friday.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Sharon.
Mr. Glenn Pepper, mediator extraordinaire, who has dedicated, Glenn and I were the only mediators that continued to mediate in eviction court during all of COVID in person, in both Boulder and Longmont.
Wow.
And there's some other fantastic mediators in this room. Miss Adriana Perea. Marta Moreno, by the way, is a mediator of her own. Veronica Garcia from the Senior Center. She mediates, you mediate. There's Carmen Ramirez in the very back. Valeria Gonzalez and Guillermo Estrada Rivera from our office. And then, of course, Jasmine, where is Jasmine?
Jasmine's up here.
Miss Jasmine Padilla, who has a most beautiful legal mind, by the way, who also mediates in eviction court every Friday. And Sarah, you're trained as a mediator too, aren't you? Yes.
And David Kennedy, is he as well? Well, I think all of you, if you're interested, we would love to have a picture of all of you to come up and accept this proclamation. We're very, very fortunate to have such incredible people in our community. So Sharon and Bob.
Let's get you in front with the council there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. just gonna fit on the boundaries, so squeeze like you like each other. Perfect. On three. Three. Happy faces. 1, 2, 3. Thank you guys.
We are now at first call, public invited to be heard. Remember that you have 3 minutes. We need your name and address on the sign-in sheet. And the first person on our list is Robert Morris III. Hello. Robert, can you turn on the microphone, please?
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Good evening, Mayor Peck, council members. I'm here today to advocate for a group, for a brain injury support group that we have here in the county. It takes place every third Thursday at the Delacava Family Medical Pavilion in the Carruthers Conference Room. And that's at 4747 Arapahoe Avenue in Boulder. And it's just it's a group, everything we do that we strive to do in that group is in the name. So it's a brain injury support group. So we group together, we attempt to support each other. Everything that we do in there goes by Vegas rules. So it's a group environment. So anything that happens within that group stays within that group. And this is for people who have experienced brain injury, whether that be traumatic brain injury, something like from an accident, or has had brain injury from disorders or anything like that, or if you were a caretaker for someone with a brain injury. Some examples of that would be, of course, stroke, things of that nature. No matter the severity of the stroke, if you care for someone who has Alzheimer's or dementia, if you're experiencing early onset Alzheimer's or dementia, things of that nature, of course, you're welcome as well. We know that these issues can be very isolating, and we do attempt to have we attempt to come together to try to alleviate quite a bit of that. We also do eat from time to time, so if you just want to come in for a quick bite, while you test out the circumstances, that's something that you can do as well. This month, we won't be meeting in the conference room. We're looking forward to do a group activity. And if you would like more information on that, you can get in contact with me after the meeting. I also have some flyers as well, if anybody's interested in that. Just something we want to get the word out about. Because like I said, it can be something that's difficult to deal with. And we attempt to deal with that all together. So I appreciate all your time. And like I said, I have flyers for anyone who would need one.
Thank you for your work, Robert, and thank you for your speech tonight. The next one on the list is Sherry Malloy.
Sherry Malloy, 1632 Sherman Way, Longmont resident since 1986. Good evening. What a great 4th of July happened in Longmont this year. Although I didn't attend the picnic at Roosevelt with Longmont Symphony and the chorale, I heard the whole thing was really terrific, folksy, and fun. Likewise, the festival on 2nd was great and extremely well attended and likely to expand next year. The St. Vrain Students Drone Show, coordinated with music provided by the Longmont Symphony, was really impressive, patriotic, and had a big wow factor. As usual, Skyline Kiwanis did a fabulous job on the fireworks. Launching from the fire training station allowed for viewing from the festival on 2nd, as well as many other locations around Longmont. We viewed them from the bike trail at Maine, and we're very pleased to see the rangers guiding people to steer clear of our protected Dickens Nature Area. We were equally pleased with how people complied and respected this space. We didn't see any sparklers, fireworks, or even anyone smoking, all of which was a safety concern of myself and others due to the dry land and grasses. There were some small spot fires in the nature area from the fireworks fallout. Luckily, there was almost no wind and the rangers were equipped with backpack sprayers, so we're able to respond accordingly. Obviously, this is something that needs to be looked at for the future. One simple partial solution might be to have more drones and less fireworks. If there were 50% less fireworks, there would be 50% less likelihood of spreading brush fires. In addition to fire safety, less fireworks would also mean less cost as well as less noise and air pollution. So a big hooray and thank you to you, our city council members, for voting to protect Dickens Nature Area. Thank you to our city manager, natural resources and park staff, rangers, police, and fire departments. And of course, a huge public thank you to the Skyline Kiwanis for their many months of planning, fundraising, and to the volunteers who put in hours helping execute the fireworks show. Our community benefits from their generosity. Finally, others and I will be back in 2 weeks as you move forward on putting our open space sales tax extension in perpetuity on this November's ballot. I hiked Button Rock today, and I'm so thankful my favorite and very special preserve in all our open space lands will be forever preserved and protected by ensuring resources do just that. A survey is an unnecessary expenditure of city funds and burden on staff who are already on a short leash to draft language. We've done elections on open space and done surveys. Consistently, Longmont residents overwhelmingly support open space. Please withdraw this superfluous motion tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry. Alexis, I'm going to let you tell us how you pronounce your last name.
Hi, Alexis Lanham, 809 Broad Street.
Thank you.
I live at 809 Broad Street, which is at the west end of Roosevelt Park. Because of the Kaufman Street construction, the RTD bus stop has moved from 8th and Kaufman to 8th and Bross. The surrounding homes are typically older with single driveways, and households with more than one car rely heavily on street parking in front of their homes to be able to come and go without disturbing housemates, family members, etc. There's plenty of public parking around Roosevelt, but people are choosing to park all day in front of our houses when a spot is open briefly because of the close proximity to the bus stop. I would like to propose residential permit parking signs for the duration of the Kaufman Street construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. Amy Wiley?
Good evening, council members. My husband and I are lifelong Longmont residents who raised our children here. We are deeply concerned about the proposed expansion of marijuana sales in our town, especially given our city's troubling history with underage sales. Today's marijuana is not what it used to be. It is far more potent and dangerous, especially for our youth. Our family learned this the hard way. Our daughter, once a high achiever from a loving and stable home, fell into a spiral of addiction after experimenting with marijuana. The high-potency products, particularly wax concentrates with 90 to 90% THC, quickly led to daily use. By 18, she was unrecognizable to us. This isn't just our stories. Many families in Longmont are grappling with the rising addiction and mental health crisis caused by today's marijuana. Psychosis, suicidal ideation, and substance abuse disorder are real threats to that our community faces today. We must prioritize our youth and community over potential financial gains. The risks are too high and the consequences too severe. Consider these alarming statistics from CDOT. 18 to 24-year-olds consume cannabis more than twice as often as the average driver. They're more than twice as likely to report driving high in the last 30 days. And 30% of 16 to 24-year-olds believe it's safe to drive under the influence of cannabis. Unlike alcohol, there is no reliable roadside test for marijuana impairment. This puts our community at an even greater risk. Even more concerning is Longmont's history with underage marijuana sales. In 2021, 4 Longmont area marijuana retailers were cited for selling to minors. During compliance checks, investigators had minors volunteer to attempt to purchase marijuana. The volunteer did not hide their identity or age and presented an underage driver's license. If asked, they provided their real age. Despite these clear indications, multiple resellers sold to this minor. The higher than expected incidence of sales to minors is deeply troubling and highlights the need for stricter regulations, not expansion. Mayor Peck, you stated in a 2021 email to me that we definitely need stronger marijuana regulations. Now is the time to act on that commitment. While we are survivors, our entire family lives with trauma that constantly triggers us by all the promotional content and the smell that encompasses our town. We just want to walk down the streets and feel safe. Please reject these amendments, protect our families, our youth, and for the safety of our community. Longmont does not need to be on the leading edge of marijuana hospitality. Let us instead focus on being a safe, clean, and family-friendly city. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Strider Benston.
Howdy. Strider Benston, 951 West 17th. I'd like to point at a couple of recent books about the Supreme Court. Attack from Within by Barbara McCade and The Shadow Docket by Stephen Vladek. There's many. We need to know what's going on. The current term of the Supreme Court is pretty much equal in evil to everything that's ever happened the last 200 years with the Supreme Court. You got Dred Scott, you got Plessy v. Ferguson, you got Citizens United, which said dark money can buy any and all politicians they want, and we can't find out who bought them. And Shelby County, which worked to abolish the Voting Rights Act, which I put my whole life into creating the right to vote in this country. And there's so, and the Chevron exception currently basically abolishes the government as such, the infrastructure, and says, get rid of civil service, many thousands of people who know what they're doing, throw them out in the street and put in political hacks to run everything. And then the impunity for the former president to abolish the American Revolution and put in a king with absolute impunity to do anything. One thing, the Project 2029, one of the provisions in the 1,000 pages is to say public schools will be mandatory to have the military go in and recruit and train and propagandize, and but private segregation academies or Christian nationalist schools that will take public money without accountability, they will of course be exempt, so only the working class people will be forced to be in the military, including girls. And that's basically what's going on, and that it's abolishing the entire concept of democratic government and abolishing the American Revolution. We had a revolution to get rid of having a king and create a democracy, which we have been working on for 240 years. Let's hang in there. And Andrew Jackson, the one thing I'll quote,
Thank you,
he said
Strider.
the Supreme Court does not field an army.
Thank you.
Pay attention.
Becca Ventrella.
Hello. Hey guys.
I'm here to express strong opposition to the proposed amendments to Chapter 6.70 regarding marijuana hospitality license. As a parent with a young family, I'm deeply concerned about the impact these changes could have on Longmont's appeal to families. We don't need people here coming to just to get high. Boulder, our neighbor, has already turned down similar proposals. We should follow their lead in prioritizing clean air and family-friendly environments. Public safety must be our top priority. Marijuana impairs reaction time, coordination, and perception. The Colorado Department of Public Health recommends waiting 6 to 8 hours after using marijuana before driving. By allowing consumption outside of residences, we are increasing the risk of impaired drivers on our streets. We should be promoting smoke-free environments, not creating new spaces for indoor smoking. Marijuana smoke contains many of the same harmful chemicals as cigarette smoke. We'd be exposing employees and potentially nearby community members to dangerous secondhand smoke. This is a step backward for public health and could make Longmont unappealing for families looking to move here. These amendments could normalize marijuana use for youth. Research shows that public promotion of marijuana products influence young people's intention to use. We know marijuana negatively impacts learning, memory, and decision-making critical skills for youth development. The proposal is potentially double the number of establishments selling marijuana in Longmont is alarming. Even more concerning is the possibility of having no cap on hospitality establishments. This could lead to a proliferation of these businesses, changing the character of our city and making it less family-friendly. I'm also troubled by the extended operation hours until 2 a.m. and the lack of comprehensive video surveillance in all areas of these establishments. These factors could create additional public safety and law enforcement challenges. Lastly, the absence of a clear plan for proper disposal of leftover marijuana is worrying. We need to ensure that any unused products don't end up in the wrong hands or improperly discarded. In conclusion, I urge the council to reject these amendments. Let's prioritize health, safety, and well-being of Longmont residents, especially our families and youth. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Becca.
Yep.
Jordan Person.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Jordan Person. Mayor Peck, thank you for your time tonight. 640 Buchanan Lane. I am here tonight in regards to 6.70. Seems to be a popular topic of the evening. I'm here in support of this amendment. First off, I want to say thank you. Thank you to the council. Thank you to the mayor. Thank you to the city attorney, city clerk, to all of your offices. Thank you for thinking outside the box. Thank you for considering entrepreneurship. I've been a nurse for 23 years and I've been a massage therapist for 18 years. But this language gives me the opportunity to actually make my dreams come true. I have been providing cannabis massage to clients as a mobile service, going to patients' homes, hotels, businesses, and event spaces for a decade. In 2014, when I started my business, THC was the primary cannabinoid that was available at that time for sold in dispensaries. It wasn't until 2018, when the Farm Bill passed, when we had access to CBD. That is when hemp was defined and the CBD boom began. In the last 10 years of applying THC topicals, the tetrahydrocannabinol, meaning the euphoric cannabinoid of the cannabis plant, we have proven the therapeutic effects of the topical application time and time again. It's honestly hard for me to believe that it's taken 10 years for me to apply THC to someone in a brick and mortar setting, but here we are. THC will remain my primary focus since I have seen firsthand for a decade what it can do for patients' pain, discomfort, chronic conditions, and more. I am so grateful to live in a town that has the potential to make my dreams come true. I look forward to making you all proud. I look forward to building a business that you can tell your friends and neighbors about. I look forward to being a steward to this community. I appreciate your time and every bit of work that you're putting into this ordinance, and I hope that you can understand its importance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jordan. Martin Orner.
Mayor and Council, Martin Orner, 1417 Auburn Court. I feel like I shouldn't be here this evening. There's so many more important things going on, and I just feel bad that I'm taking up your time, but I'm here. So I wanted to, I've inquired twice with phone messages to Public Works about the right-of-way on 17th Avenue between Harvard and Hover. I haven't received a reply. I wrote a written note for city management and left it with city management asking for a reply about what's going on with the right-of-way. And it's the terrible condition. If you're driving down at 45 and 50 miles an hour in your car, you don't notice. But for those of us who choose to walk and not get in our cars all the time to go to the store, we can see very clearly that the median is dying, if not dead already. The shrubbery is dying on certainly on the south side. The landscape fabric is a complete mess. The irrigation lines are broken, and I don't know who's supposed to take care of it. I am curious to know if it's city staff or if this area if we're paying a contractor to do it, because it's not happening. So I'm just asking if someone can get back to me, some responsible person, we can talk about this. I'd sure appreciate it. I've got a couple of minutes left, so I realize that coming here tonight, that there's some budget issues, of course. So I would suggest, humbly, that maybe the idea of adopt a right-of-way, adopt a stream corridor, adopt a trail corridor for maybe a neighborhood group, for businesses, for a office building group, and people can get recognition and get motivated to go out and take care of our city instead of me coming over here and complaining about stuff. We can get it done, some of it done ourselves as citizens, because we're proud to be here and we want to take care of it. So thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Sharon O'Leary.
Sharon O'Leary, 534 Emery Street. Longmont's original mile was built on a grid system. This original plan created 5 internal east-west corridors for neighborhood residents living east of Main Street. The 5 internal east-west corridors are 4th Avenue, 5th Avenue, 6th Avenue, Longs Peak, and 8th Avenue. Yet even today, city planning decisions continue to close off public streets to residents living east of Main Street. Consciously or unintentionally, this is called systemic bias. Closing off public streets is never better planning. During the 1980s, city planners began to systematically create street closures. The first street closure was 8th Avenue and a 2-for-1 swap with the railroad to allow new development up at 21st Street. The next was 6th Avenue to build a plaza. Planners created a gathering place to hold events in downtown by closing off a public street. The result of those 2 independent decisions, now, the east and west side only has 3 viable east-west corridors from the original 5. Present day, 4th Avenue is being closed from Kimbark Street to Main Street and sometimes to Kaufman for downtown events and concerts. Now the east side will have only 2 viable corridors. The city plans to permanently close 5th Avenue for the Boston Avenue connection rather than closing Terry Street and yet another 2-for-1 agreement with the railroad. Due to unsavory feedback, planners melded the concept of a quiet zone into a plan as a better justification for closing 5th Avenue, a much more palatable rationale for public street closure. I mean, who could resist a quiet zone? The third permanent street closure severely impacts families who need to get to work, school, daily activities, whether on foot, bikes, or motor vehicles. When city planners adjust the original grid system with new systems that benefit one area of town over another is definitely systemic bias. When downtown activities result with street closures. East Side residents will have only one open corridor, Longs Peak Avenue. This not only limits the residents, but it ought to be severely affected by the closing would be Kensington Park and the historic East Side. As a city council, you must direct staff to keep Fifth Avenue open and look into a 4-quadrant railroad cross-gate arm system. This will keep the public street open to the public, allow quiet zones to be constructed, and simultaneously keep pedestrians, cyclists, and motor vehicles safe within their own neighborhood. Transportation should connect and not divide.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Lance Whitaker.
Mayor and Council, my name is Lance Whitaker. I've been a resident for 44 years. My address is 1750 Collier Street. I originally proposed that you guys do an action on House Bill 19123 and cannabis hospitality, and I can only speak from personal experience. I've been a long-term smoker ever since I was 16 years old. I've never made any bad decisions, hardly at all. I've been an active member of the community. I've worked hard, and I've done well for myself. I've never suffered from detox, even though the town has gone dry. I strongly oppose anyone who says that it's bad. Sorry I'm not all here today. I've been staying up all night with my dog who's terminally ill, and I'll be putting him down tomorrow. But all I can do is talk from personal experience. And like I said, I've smoked cannabis since I was 16. I've never suffered. I've always done well. My police record will show that it's probably only 1 page long. No assault charges, no distribution charges, no driving charges, and I do real well in Longmont. And people really like me here, and I've made lots of friends. And today is National Rocky Day. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Lance. Seeing no one else on the list, I'm going to close first call public
Madam
invited
Mayor.
to be heard.
Excuse me.
Yes?
We do have a gentleman here that would like to speak, although they missed signing up on the sheet, if you'll allow them.
Who's that? Oh,
Yeah, if you don't mind.
okay. And then when you're finished,
What's up, Lance? How you doing?
and then, sir, when you're finished, please come and sign the sheet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem. So my name's Edward. I own Summit Tacos. I've been here for a little over 9 years. I know a lot of the people here today. I just wanted to address my concern with the fireworks this last week. It was just very uncoordinated. It wasn't very thought out for businesses in Longmont, and I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention that it was very disorganized and it was a very unsafe event. I know this madam spoke about the park, and I think we could find a better place to be showing off these fireworks. I talked to Shakita briefly today, maybe the fairgrounds or something different, maybe, but better organization overall, just, you know, parking situations in downtown. It was just chaos. And I think we could do better as a community. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, and sir?
Yeah.
Thank you. Now I'm going to close final first call public invited to be heard. And we're going to move on to the consent agenda and introduction and reading by title of first reading ordinances. Crystal, would you mind reading the consent agenda into the record?
Yes, Mayor. The second reading and public hearing for all ordinances introduced on this agenda will be held on July 23rd, 2024. Item 9A is Ordinance 2024-49, a bill for an ordinance repealing and reenacting Chapter 16.08 of the Longmont Municipal Code to adopt by reference the 2023 National Electric Code and amending Chapter 2.97, Section 2.97.010.b. Item 9B is Ordinance 2024-50, a bill for an administrative ordinance approving the grant of an easement and temporary construction easement for the Dry Creek Trail extension. Item 9C is Ordinance 2024-51, a bill for an ordinance approving the grant of a cable franchise to Comcast Colorado IX LLC, approving a cable franchise agreement between Comcast Colorado IX LLC and the City of Longmont, Colorado, and for an ordinance amending Chapter 2.26 of the Longmont Municipal Code on cable television franchises. Item 9D is Resolution 2024-44, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the first amended and restated intergovernmental agreement between the city and the Longmont Housing Authority for support and services. Item 9E is Resolution 2024-45, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving contract amendment number 2 to the original contract number 23 IBEH 174368 of the intergovernmental agreement between the city and the State of Colorado Department of Human Services Office of Behavioral Health for the co-responder program. Item 9F is Resolution 2024-46, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Longmont and the City of Fort Collins for flex bus services. Item 9G is approve 1 capital improvement program amendment. Item 9H is accept 10 capital improvement program amendments approved by the city manager.
Thank you, Crystal. Is there a council that would like to pull any items off the consent agenda? I want to pull 9A, and I move the consent agenda minus 9A. It's been moved by myself, seconded by Councilor McCoy, to move the consent agenda minus 9A. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. That's on second reading. The consent agenda passes unanimously. Thank you. We are now going to move on to the, hold on. I'm sorry. Ordinances on the second reading, public hearings on any matter. The first one on the list is 2024-43. It's a bill for an ordinance making additional appropriations for expenses and liabilities of the City of Longmont for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2024. Are there any questions from council on this bill? Seeing none, I would like to open the public hearing on 2024-43. Is there anybody in the public that would like to address this bill? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
I'll move ordinance 2024-43. Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Hidalgo Faring, seconded by Councilor Crest. Let's vote. Where to go? 2024-43 passes unanimously. The second one on the list is 2024-44. This is a bill for an ordinance amending Chapter 2.68 of the Longmont Municipal Code on updating the city liquor code and adding city approval of festival permits. Are there any questions or comments from council on this bill? Seeing none, I'll open up the public hearing on 2024-44. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this bill? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing on 2024-44 and ask for a motion.
I'll move ordinance 2024-44.
It's been moved by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Councilor Yarbrough. Let's vote. And that passes unanimously. The next one is 2024-45. This is a bill for an ordinance amending Chapter 6.65 of the Longmont Municipal Code on sexually oriented business regulations. Are there any questions from council? Seeing none, I will open up the public hearing on 2024-45. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this bill? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing on 2024-45 and ask for a motion.
I move ordinance 2024-45.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Councilor Hidalgo Faring. Let's vote. That passes unanimously. The next one on our list is 2024-46. It's a bill for an ordinance authorizing a farmland lease agreement between the City of Longmont and Sipe Farms LLC on the 66 open space property. Are there any questions from council on this ordinance? I have one. I am curious about leasing. There are 3, D, E, and F, all being leased to the Sipe Farms LLC. Oh, and there's Danielle to answer my questions.
Thank you for the question, Mayor Peck. I'm not sure what the question is.
I haven't asked you yet.
Okay.
So you wouldn't know. I'm curious, Danielle, is Sipe Farms LLC a big conglomerate, or is it a local farm?
It's a local farm family that has a long history in the city of Longmont. It's a family farm. So our tenant farmer is Chad Musick and his grandfather. So their family has a long history with the city and being farmers here.
And they're going to farm all 3 of these open space parcels that you mentioned?
Correct, yes. It's the same tenant on all of these.
Do you know if they use aerial spraying of pesticides on farms, on these farms?
I don't believe they do. Aerial spraying?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay. Thank you. That's my questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So now I don't see anyone else on council that has a question, so I'll open up the public hearing on 2024-46. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing on 2024-46 and ask for a motion.
I move ordinance 2024-46.
Second.
It's been moved and by Councilor Chris, seconded by Councilor McCoy. Let's vote. And that passes unanimously. The next one is 2024-47, a bill for an ordinance authorizing a farmland lease agreement between the City of Longmont and Sipe Farms LLC on the Hartman open space property. Are there any questions on this bill from councilors? Seeing no one, I will open up the public hearing on 2024-47. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this bill? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing on 2024-47.
I move ordinance 2024-47.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Councilor Christ. Let's vote. And that passes unanimously. The last one on our list is 2024-48. It's a bill for an ordinance authorizing a farmland lease agreement between the City of Longmont and Sipe Farms LLC on the Herner open space property premises. Are there any questions from council? Seeing none, I'll open up the public hearing on 2024-48. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this bill? Seeing none, I would like to ask for a motion.
I'll I'll move ordinance 2024-48.
Second.
It's been moved by Counselor Hidalgo Faring and seconded by Counselor Christ. Let's vote. And that carries unanimously. I would like to thank staff for leasing these open space properties to agriculture. I think that is a good use of open space, and it also helps with fires, and it keeps it from becoming dry land. So thank you. And now items removed from the consent agenda. I moved 9A, which is a bill for an ordinance repealing and reenacting the electrical code. So I just have a question about this National Electric Code. I had asked a while back that when we bring back these codes on the National Electric, that we also have an amendment to our code saying that all new development needs to be electric. Is this the code where we use that amendment, or is there another city code?
Thank you, Mayor Peck. This code is not the one that we would add that amendment
Okay.
to. That would be most likely the International Energy Code, which should be published any day now. That would have the trigger language that would require them to put electric in homes. The NEC just simply lays out how to wire in the homes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I knew they were both NECs, but I wasn't sure. Okay, thank you. With that information, I will move the bill 2024-49.
Second.
It's been moved by myself, seconded by Counselor Hidalgo Faring. Let's vote. Thank you, that was very short. Right. Do we need to take a break? Anybody on council? Staff?
I do need to use the restroom.
We're going to take a 5-minute break. And we're now at the general business portion of our agenda. The zero reading is up next. It's the amendments to Chapter 6.70, marijuana, to add hospitality licenses and make necessary updates to concur with statute. The staff presentation is going to be by City Clerk Don Quintana and our city attorney, acting.
Assistant.
Yeah, I missed. Well, Eugene's seat was empty, so I thought, well, he threw you in. Acting city attorney.
Very good. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Don Quintana, City Clerk. We are back again with a zero reading, so a draft for marijuana hospitality licenses. I do have a brief presentation. I'm not going into great detail because we've talked about this quite a few times. So we'll just go quickly. Just as quick review, marijuana hospitality license provides a location for people to legally consume marijuana on that premises. On April 30th, you gave us direction to bring back a draft ordinance for your consideration. We do have two draft ordinances for your consideration in the packet, two versions, and we'll talk about why here in just a moment. We're going to quickly run through the direction we think we heard you give us at the April 30th meeting. We've got a few additional clarification questions, and then we will be seeking direction whether or not you'd like us to move forward. And that is entirely your decision. This is a policy decision, so as elected officials, you get to tell us what you would like us to do or not do. So your overall direction was to bring back an ordinance that allows for permanent licensed premises without sales and with sales. You did not ask us to bring back anything allowing mobile sales, so that is not in your ordinance. We talked quite a bit about location, and we looked at some maps that would show zoning. We agreed, or your direction was to follow the table of allowed uses in the Longmont Municipal Code and not make any further restrictions. We talked about additional distance restrictions from addiction treatment centers and we showed you a map of how that world might look if we added additional restrictions. You did not direct us to add any other additional distance restrictions, but just to keep the 250 feet from residential areas and the 1,000 feet from K-12 schools. Those are existing in code, so no changes there. Oh, wrong button. Let me get the right keyboard. Regarding application fees, you directed us to set fees at a $1,000 application fee, which would be a one-time fee, and a $2,000 license fee. Those will come back if we bring back ordinances for adoption. If that is your direction tonight, we would bring back a resolution in conjunction with those to set the fees. So that's how that would work. Regarding social equity, we talked about the different ways that City and County of Denver handles social equity and the ways that they hold certain license types for social equity applicants and adjust fees and such. Your direction in that regard was to waive application fees, so the $1,000 application fee for those who would qualify under the state social equity program. That again would be in the fee resolution. We think is the easiest way to address that. So we would bring that back in the resolution if directed to bring back these ordinances. Again, the wrong keyboard. You shouldn't put Dawn with two keyboards. We talked some about allowed and prohibited activities. There's just a few here on your slide. On-premise marijuana hospitality facilities are allowed to operate 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. They're allowed to have outdoor areas. Of course, there's a lot of criteria around what that looks like. They can serve and sell coffee, tea, and prepackaged goods. They cannot allow, on the right-hand side of the screen, anyone under 21. They cannot allow alcohol or tobacco consumption on those premises. No disorderly conduct is allowed, and no visible display allowed outside of the premises. So you can't see product displayed, for example, from the street. You did not give us any direction to add additional provisions. So like all other areas, council could be more restrictive than statute, but not less restrictive. We didn't get any direction here, so there are no changes in these areas. I got the right keyboard that time. Moving on, the cap or no cap, this was one of the pieces where you weren't unsure which way you wanted to go. So that is why there are two versions of the ordinance in your packet. One enacts a cap, and limits it to 4 licenses, 4 marijuana hospitality licenses. The other version has no cap on marijuana hospitality. Both keep the cap of 4 licenses on retail stores. So we did not mess with the retail store cap. That was what we thought you said. And then you have 2 options. Do you want to set a cap? Is 4 the right number, or no cap at all? That will be one of the questions we have for you at the end here. Additionally, as my trusty colleague Tim Hull here was drafting, we came across a reminder that the code limits, prohibits one owner from holding more than 1 license. We have an additional question if you'd like to keep this provision. We are aware of one current licensee who may be interested in a hospitality license, has experience in that realm. So the question could come up. That person has not, to my knowledge, come forward, but it's a question we thought we should ask while we're here. Additionally, the second question that has come up, and this is since last we presented before you all, we have lost our trustee licensing administrator, and so I am doing the licensing while we fill that position. And as I've been doing that, I've been handling the marijuana registered managers and realized that it isn't very fruitful work for us, that it really doesn't, it's a lot of work, a lot of tracking, and it really doesn't net us any gain. So while we're here, again, we wanted to ask if you would be amenable to us pulling that requirement to register managers for dispensaries in Longmont, in addition to the med badge that they already have. They are already vetted by the state. They've got to be residents. They've got to be 21 years of age. There's a whole realm of rules around their background. They run their background check. So every employee is already vetted, and what we're doing has netted us nothing particularly useful. So wanted to ask if you would be amenable to us removing that from the code. And that is the extent of my presentation. So what we have here are just a restatement of the questions that we have for you tonight, and I'm here to answer any questions, as is Tim.
Councilor McCoy.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. Don, can you go back to 8, slide 8? Okay, so when you're talking about Longmont Code prohibiting one owner from holding more than 1 license, just in the hospitality, not a license to sell at a retail, and not one to for hospitality. It's either or.
It is 1 license, period. 1 in the marijuana section of code, 1 license under that section.
Okay, so you either are a retailer or you're a hospitality.
As it stands currently, if we kept that provision.
And then on slide 9, I thought I heard you say that they needed to be a Longmont resident, but it says must be a Colorado.
Colorado, correct.
Okay.
Correct. Must be a resident of Colorado.
And Tim, you were going to say something.
Just to be clear, with the 1 license, it's 1 total license. You can't have 2 retail stores or 2 hospitality stores. You can only have 1 license, 1 establishment.
Okay, you couldn't have a retail and that, so you had to choose which one you're going to go down.
Under this language, you could direct us otherwise.
Okay, I'm comfortable with how it's written, but I just wanted to make sure about these 2 questions. Thank you.
Seeing no questions in the queue, there was in our package, Dawn, a list of other things of, oh, she did. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. The clarification, just kind of on the order of the question that Councilmember McCoy asked. We don't have any similar restrictions for people holding liquor licenses, correct? We can, the same license holder can have as many bars or tasting rooms or whatever as they choose to license.
Mayor Peck, Councilmember Martin, that is true to some extent. There are some licenses that you are prohibited to hold on both sides of the wholesale retail fence in the liquor world. There are restrictions there, but you could have 3 bars or 4 restaurants.
So, okay, so as far as retail goes, there are not restrictions similar to these restrictions that are proposed.
Do you want to make that point?
Sorry, Mayor Peck, members of council, that there are state caps on the number of liquor stores that you can have right now. I believe it's 3, but that's statewide. That's not a Longmont specific rule.
Okay. All right, and the state statute here does not, doesn't have such a cap on cannabis industries, retail industries.
That is correct.
All right, thank you. I'm just looking to understand the playing field.
So let's go through these one by one, I think, and get council's direction. But in the council communication, Dawn, we have different uses. For example, the permitted uses in the city. Some of these, can we change or not change? Do we have to change the code in order to, for example, residential use, MUR?
You're talking about the table of allowed. So this.
Yes, table of allowed can and cannots.
Right. So this information in the council communication about a commercial entertainment facility under our current table of allowed uses, that would be allowed under the MUC, the MUD, the MUE, and the MUR zoning areas. If you wanted to further restrict that, we would need that direction.
Okay.
To pull that back. We didn't get that direction, so there was none of that language here.
Okay.
And that would be a change in Title 15.
I am going to make a motion that I move that we disallow location of MUR. It's residential. Oh.
It is mixed-use residential?
Yeah. Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. According to the map that showed, are there any mixed-use residential zonings within the allowable use map that was presented to us?
I can't remember that, so that's a good
I
question.
happen to have it in my presentation because I thought you might want to see. Glenn. Is Grant still here? This was the map that we showed in terms of the additional distance restrictions. And let me just recall. I don't think this is instructive because we lumped them together.
We did, yeah.
In the map. And I don't know, the MUR, I don't know what color it is. Let us pull it up and we'll look at that.
Okay.
Go ahead. Okay, thank you, John.
Mayor Peck, MUR is mixed-use regional center and not residential.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
As I have been helpfully corrected.
I just, and I'm going to go a little further with it. I have a problem with the hospitality portion of not the therapeutic use, but the hospitality with smoking, et cetera, being near in residential areas. I just, if we're going to keep it away from schools, if we're going to keep it, it'd be like having a bar in a residential area. And I'm not talking about a restaurant that sells liquor, but just a hospitality that's nothing but marijuana use. So I move that we disallow that.
It's not allowed.
Yeah, I was going to say,
It
Mayor,
isn't?
if I might, yeah, the distance in the code already is a 250-foot distance restriction from residential areas. And that would stay. That's already in there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw that it was only from schools.
No, 250 feet from
There it
residential,
is.
1,000 feet from K-12. So that is already there. That would not change, would not go away. We keep that.
I'm sorry for that.
Thank you, and my
I totally
apologies.
misread it. Counselor McCoy.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. So, Don, do you think if we limited it to Longmont residents, since this is a Longmont expansion of this, that those would be the only people that could open a business like that? Would we be, Tim, maybe this is a question for you, would we have a problem?
Certainly, that is a question for me. I don't know that I have an answer off of the top of my head. It's a little bit hard to divorce myself from my housing thought process. Without further evidence, without further research, I would say that we might be able to do that, but I wouldn't be able to answer that without some research.
All right. And then another question is, now that it's there, now that it's for recreational use, the lady behind you there, Jordan, that came up and spoke, can she use the THC, CBD, lotions for her business without having this? I mean, is there, what's the defining, maybe she knows and she can.
I've been as a mobile service for a decade because under Amendment 64, we are legally, as Colorado residents, allowed to share up to 2 ounces per person or an ounce per person per day. So by me going into someone's home, hotel, business, or event space and applying those topicals, I'm never sharing more than an ounce of product. So I've kind of been under that at this point. I've been unable to open a brick and mortar because if you use THC, that's considered on-site consumption. And currently on-site consumption is illegal in a dispensary or other place, and that's why this new law was created.
Okay.
Councilmember McCoy, I can also say that this hospitality rulemaking specifically envisioned this type of business, that type of business, and carved out some special rules around if you have a spa business that was using THC topicals, and gave a special set of rules for that type of business. So I do believe that the hospitality business was designed for this type of business.
Okay. Well, as a high school economics teacher, I think the business model outside of her spa setting is probably not a very well thought out business, but I think because if you go to somewhere like a pub, a place like the Red Zone or somewhere like that in town here, you can take your kids to watch the game and have a hamburger, and you have your alcoholic drink as an adult. I don't know how successful this would be for anything outside of a spa situation, but I'm not exactly certain. I don't think that that's very. I can see the spa element of it. I just can't see the other being successful.
Don, let's start with your slides, and we'll go through them one by one and get direction. So, the first one is this slide number 1 that you have up here?
Mayor Peck. Mayor Peck. Marcia has her hand up.
Oh, gosh. I'm sorry. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. In terms of limitations, I have a communication from a resident that is worried about Longmont becoming a destination for consumption hospitality. And I was wondering whether that could, without prohibiting it completely, whether we would be able to put limitations on the size, as in the square footage of the establishment. In other words, we couldn't have a Walmart scale, Dave and Buster's scale cannabis consumption facility, hospitality facility, but we could maybe have cannabis pubs that only seated, 25 people or whatever. And is that something that has been considered, and is it allowed by the state law?
Mayor Peck, Councilmember Martin, we have not considered that, and I would think that we could be more restrictive, but I'm going to let Tim add.
Mayor Peck, council members, we can be more restrictive than the state law. It sounds kind of like a zoning concern that you'd be making, because we do provide various restrictions on size and for various businesses and zoning restrictions. It sounds like that to me, so it sounds like something we could do. We just have not considered it.
I would like to move that we do consider that in the draft ordinance.
I'll second that. Does this go, Counselor Martin? Are you talking about consumption of marijuana as well as therapeutic? Does this cover both, or are you only talking about?
I was mostly considering consumption and not therapeutic because
Okay.
it's just harder for me to conceive of that being huge scale. But I don't think it matters much. I think that the objection would be, making somebody try to make a cannabis amusement park in Longmont. We don't want that. We'd like to have something that's mainly patronized by residents and contributes to the economy in a limited way.
Okay, thank you. Counselors, is there any discussion on this motion? All right, let's vote. So Counselor Martin made the motion that we bring back consideration of the size of the establishment for consumption. And I seconded that. So let's vote. Eugene, do we need to vote on all these? Can we just give direction?
Clear direction is the goal.
All right, we'll just give clear direction.
Votes are clear.
Yeah. We should vote. That was a trick.
It's a trick answer. And that passes with Counselor Rodriguez opposing. All right, let's go to the next one.
Mayor, council members, would you mind clarifying roughly what you're hoping to see out of that amendment?
I suspect that a planner should be involved in researching it because, I gave as examples, Dave and Buster's as a large scale consumption and hospitality feature for alcohol that has, other entertainments present and stuff like that, versus a corner pub or maybe Safeway versus a bodega. Somebody who is expert in the field would need to translate that into square footage.
Councilor McCoy.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. If we're making motions, can you go to slide 8 again?
Councilor McCoy, can we start with that first one and go through each slide and decide? For example, the first one was about a cap, and everyone didn't give direction, so that
I can make a motion to that, if you'd like me to.
for the cap.
Yeah.
To cap or not to cap?
Oh, I think we definitely cap, and I think 4 for now is something to consider. So my motion is to cap this at 4 for now.
Second.
So I do have a question about that. When you say cap, are you talking about, because we've already got a cap for retail?
For the new
Hospitality establishments?
Yes. 4 total.
And that's how the drafts are written. It maintains it sort of separates the two. The retail stores has a cap of 4, and then the question is really about marijuana hospitality. Would you like a cap on those or not? And so the motion was, yes, a cap of 4.
Okay.
And that is one of the versions of the ordinance in your packet.
All right. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. Who seconded that?
I'm sorry, I'm out.
Okay. God. So that passes with Councilor Rodriguez opposing. Next slide, please. Should we keep the provision for one owner not holding more than one license?
I move that we keep that provision.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Christ, seconded by Councilor McCoy, that we keep the provision that one owner may only hold one license.
Crystal, do you need us to get out of this so you can wait no more? Oh.
And she has her hands.
Councilor Martin?
Yes, I just wanted to remark in support of keeping the prohibition that that aligns with the idea of limiting the scale at which this happens.
Okay.
So that's why I favor it.
So we're waiting for your vote.
One owner.
Thank you. That passes unanimously. Next slide, please.
This last one is about the registered managers. And if you'd like me to re-review that, I can, or maybe I was not clear.
Councilor McCoy.
Thank you, Mayor Peck. I would like you to review that. Is that the owner or?
So owners, under statute, owners must be vetted and deemed worthy, I don't know, that's probably not the right word, but deemed eligible, meet the criteria to be an owner, a controlling beneficial owner. And then also to work in the industry, you must apply for and be issued a badge, an employee badge. And part of that process is a background check, a full background check. And this criteria. They've got to be 21. They've got to be a Colorado resident. They can't have felonies for, I kind of shortened the list so it fit on the screen, but things related to substance use possession within the past 10 years, and no conviction or discharge of any parole or probation within the past 5 years. So there are already bumpers around who can be working in the dispensaries. When we initially drafted marijuana to allow retail stores in Longmont, of course, we didn't know what that world would look like. And it was an industry developing across the state. And the advice we got at the time was to be conservative and add that extra layer in to sort of mirror liquor licensing, to license our register our managers. Liquor has since also pulled that back. We don't register managers like on all licenses anymore. They just notify us who a manager is. And the marijuana industry has also grown and become more sophisticated. So this work is already being done by the state. Every employee in the marijuana industry must have these badges. And so we aren't getting anything great out of the extra work, honestly.
my concern was about the owners being, in regards to being Longmont residents over Colorado, so that we could keep it strictly to our community and not have some big entity coming out.
And that would be different than what is here. That is the owner of the license, the licensee, and I think Tim needed to do some research as where we landed on
I
that.
guess I'd like.
That's different.
Can we give direction without a vote? I'd like to. Well, we can go to this. I'd like this to be clarified in an ordinance if we're going to bring it forward on a first reading in the future.
I'm confused about what it is you're asking.
Well, I would like the owner to be there. The Colorado resident for this question is fine by me. For being the person who's working it or managing it, I'm just more concerned about the owner being local. But I mean, that's my opinion.
Yeah,
So if I can
there's
jump
two
in.
questions,
I
correct?
think there's two different questions.
Yeah.
So the question we're asking here is, do we just revert to the state law versus having it in the code, because the state law already goes through the background check? So that's what they're asking here. I think what Councilmember McCoy is adding is there's an additional point of wanting to have, and then correct me if I'm wrong, is that the requirement of the owner is that they're a Longmont resident, not just a Colorado resident.
Correct.
Yeah, different than what this question is on the screen.
I understand.
Councilmember McCoy's is different.
So I don't know which comes first. We have a deal with this question 2, and then add that component to section, like a question 3. I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, really, this question is, currently, we require managers to not only be vetted by the state and have an MED badge, but then they have to go through a vetting process, and we also background check them. But they've already been background. It's duplicative work.
Yes.
The manager piece has nothing to do with the owner piece.
Okay. Okay.
So if we would like to give us direction on this, and then we can,
Okay.
or vice versa, take the motion.
I move that we go along with what you're suggesting here for vetting managers.
So you would like us to just go along with the state? Yes. All right. So the direction is on this additional question is that we continue to adopt what the code requires for in the city and the state.
It would be to remove the manager registration requirement in local code and follow just the statute.
Yeah.
Yes.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Councilor Hidalgo Faring, that we stay with the state's requirements on the MED and remove it from our code.
Yep.
Any discussion? Let's vote. That passes unanimously.
And then if we'd like to have a motion, Councilmember McCoy perhaps, for the owner resident? Resident, owner as resident?
I move that we explore adding the component of the owner being from Longmont, a resident.
The owner of the hospitality establishment, you do know that even though a resident may open one and own it, they can always sell it.
They can.
Yeah, so that would not mean that it would constantly be owned by a local resident.
No, I think if the code said it had to be owned by a local resident, they couldn't sell it to someone who's not a
Okay.
local resident.
All right. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Councilor Christ, that the owner of the establishment must be a local owner.
Is it research and make sure we
Yes.
can do that.
Yes.
Tim
So
is
this is actually just asking him to.
Research.
Yes,
Research.
explore, yes.
Do you have that, Tim?
Okay.
Explore.
And that passes with Counselor Hidalgo Faring and Counselor Rodriguez opposing. So it's 5-2.
Then the last question is really two questions. If there's any other changes you would like to see, and then would you like us to bring back an ordinance with these changes?
You know, the other changes I would like to see, going back to our council comm again with the can and cannot, I would like to hear what counselors have to think about that list that you put in our counselor comm. For example, there was something there about allowing a marijuana hospitality be placed in a food establishment. I move that we do not allow a hospitality be placed in a food establishment, I guess. No, and the way I'm interpreting this, and maybe I'm incorrect, is that when it says a hospitality establishment, then is this a place that sells food? Could it be anything like, I don't know, a grocery store, a diner?
Mayor and council, that would be like a restaurant, perhaps. There are a lot of restrictions on how that's done. It must be, a demarked area, must be clearly identified, totally separate.
Yeah.
Can't have liquor sales.
And I'm
Clearly.
still going to say that I am against that because we do not allow smoking in restaurants, period. So why would we put a hospitality place in a restaurant? Or a bar, right. Yes, Counselor Yarbrough.
Okay, from my understanding, we're talking about if we have an establishment, they can offer food. I don't think it would be like a side gig of a restaurant or everybody sitting around smoking. I think that they'll be able to offer, I saw in there packaged sandwiches and coffee and things like that. They can't serve alcohol, but they are able to serve food. So I think it's
Prepackaged.
Prepackaged food. So I do think it is necessary that there's some food they're gonna need to eat. So
Let me see if I can read to you exactly what it says.
Just to jump in really quick,
Sure.
I do believe that they are required to provide prepackaged food and snacks, just like many of our liquor licenses are required to have that. This conversation is about co-locating with some sort of like commercial restaurant
Exactly.
that is regulated by like the Department of Health, and they have created a number of very specific rules about how that would operate, how the kitchens would be shared, how they would be separated, the servers that could be going between businesses.
Right, it's the
And
the
you can't
first
have
one.
food.
Let me read what it says, what you can do if allowed locally. Operated in an isolated portion of a retail food business if the retail food business does not have a liquor license. So you can't have both liquor and a hospitality establishment together. But if it's a restaurant that does not sell liquor, you can cordon off a portion of that restaurant. And I am saying, I move that we do not allow this. Because this is council discussion.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. I move that we do not allow a cannabis hospitality establishment to be allowed in a retail food business. And it was seconded by Councilor Hidalgo Faring. Is there any discussion? Councilor Martin.
Mayor Peck, I had my hand up for another, separate other change after this vote.
Okay. I don't see any discussion. Let's vote on that. And that passes with Councilor Yarbrough and Councilor Rodriguez opposed. So what was the other? There was another one on there that. Councilor Martin?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Peck. We have discussed the logistics of this and the impacts on the commerce in the community and stuff like that. Some of the speakers at Public Invited to be Heard had public health concerns that are really different than any of this. And I don't feel like we have provided a forum for the council to review public health impacts. So my question is, should we? And if so, how should we do that? You know, I don't want to drag this out forever. On the other hand, I do feel like that is an omission that, you know, they would come forward with objections in the public hearing. But as we all know, you know, the public hearing is on second reading and it's quite rare for amendments to be introduced at that point. So could we introduce something in the process to give public health impacts, pro or con, more of a hearing than we have had so far? And I don't have a specific suggestion, but I would welcome discussion on the subject.
Did you want to say something? Okay. No, I agree with you, Councilor Martin, and that is exactly why I made the motion that we disallow the establishments where the food establishments, retail food sales, to not have cannabis, the smoking, vaping, etc., because it is a health issue, and we disallow cigarette smoking, cigar smoking. So why would we allow vaping and marijuana smoking in a restaurant? So that's why I brought that up. But if you have any other concerns,
well, again, they are not my concerns so much as they are concerns brought up by others. And I don't think that while this restriction about not co-locating them with a more general purpose retail outlet is a good means of containment, if there's a broader public health concern, we have not discussed it yet.
and what would your direction be for this? Because that's where we are tonight, giving direction.
Yes, and I understand that, and I was actually inviting the other council members to provide input because I don't have any. You know, I feel like my personal feeling is, as long as, like yours, Mayor Peck, that as long as we keep this very contained and on a small scale, we don't have a worry about a public health impact. But other people might, and I feel like we have not heard from the public sufficiently on this, and if we go ahead with our normal process, we won't have an opportunity to do that until second reading, and that's awfully late in the process.
So, are there any counselors that would like to address the issue now of the public health impacts? Counselor Hidalgo Ferring.
You know, and I think maybe when it does come back to us, I know we've had ordinances on first reading where they were pulled for presentation or additional comments, or maybe we had to decide among two. So could that be an opportunity or an option? And I'm asking staff because you guys are gonna have to do all the hard work on that, to really devise two sets, one, or what, you know, based on recommendations for health impacts, you know, especially I'm thinking of, you know, through secondhand smoke, some of the things that we've heard from constituents, as well as public safety, you know, impacts to public safety. And I'm trying to articulate this. I wasn't prepared to speak on this light, but since Councilmember Martin brought it up, so something
Susie,
that,
I think that's a good idea, is if we direct that if groups in opposition want to make presentations on first reading, we should add that to the agenda. How about that?
that might be too much.
Yeah, I think that probably would not be a good idea. Counselor Christ.
Perhaps we could bring back our smoking ordinance and put it side by side, and it might give us some direction in terms of where we feel the health boundaries are, in terms of what is safe for secondhand smoke, and how is it best to contain smoking activities.
If I may, and Tim, you're gonna have to help me. I think there are very specific requirements in terms of these establishments and with ventilation, how they're controlled. I mean, and so I think that would probably be more similar to what you would see in cigar shops and locations like that. So under the state law, it is isolated to the location that it's in, and you have a lot of requirements that has to occur. You can't be outside. Or
That's actually one low-hanging fruit. So that you can have a patio space that
Okay.
has this, and I don't know how you contain it. in
But
a
it can't
patio
be
space.
seen, or there's something in there, isn't it, right?
Yeah.
Can't be visible. From
Can't be visible. So if you wanted to contain it within a building where you have the ventilation systems in, you could potentially not allow for a patio space. I mean, that's one option for council to consider. I think the question is the question on the health impacts leading to a conversation on, do you do this or do you not do this? Because that's a completely different process that we're going through versus drafting an ordinance to allow it.
So, and I do see, again, in the council comm on these allowed activities, that it is, if it's allowed locally, we can have the outdoor consumption patio. However, it doesn't help us in the winter. So,
And if I might just chime in and to piggyback on Harold's comments, Mayor, our code already requires an odor management system in our application. So they've got to already demonstrate how they're managing the odor profile, even in a dispensary. So that's a requirement. It is one of the most highly regulated industries there are. So there are tons of requirements about how you do like every single thing. So I know that, you know, the odor management plan is required with a new application. A marijuana hospitality business would be required to file a plan. So with our dispensaries, for example, they filed, you know, diagrams of their complex HVAC system that's designed to keep the odor from wafting outside of the business. So
Tim, perhaps you could, do you have the URL for the website do you know where we would look that up and perhaps send that to all of council rather than having you research that? We could just read about it.
Are you referring to the state marijuana rules?
Yes.
I do, and I would be happy to send it to you.
It's huge, I understand.
I have it open right now because I wanted to correct myself. Earlier, I misspoke. The licenses are not required to provide the prepackaged food, but they are allowed to provide prepackaged
Allowed,
food.
yeah.
I can tell you that the rules are 533 pages long.
That's about as long as our packets.
They
every
are
week.
searchable, and the marijuana hospitality section is a defined section that is limited to a few pages, and I could probably clip those out for you. and provide you.
So what I'm hearing you say is that actually the marijuana rules might be different from our smoking ordinance and maybe even more restrictive?
Likely, yes.
Okay.
Our smoking ordinance already allows you to smoke tobacco inside of an establishment that primarily sells tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
And there are several of those businesses in town.
And they're contained?
I believe so. It's not something I've researched recently, but I believe they're contained.
Okay.
We're just going to have to answer to a lot of residents. And we need the knowledge. So, Counselor Martin, unless you have a motion, do you feel that we've talked about this subject enough, or is there something that you wanted to make a motion on?
No, I can't formulate a motion, and, from what I heard from others, it probably would not pass. So, we'll wait till see what we hear after the first reading.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, what else? I don't see anything else on this list of can and cannots. It's Counselor Hidalgo-Ferry.
So in looking at the next word, in the can and cannot, the can have an outdoor consumption area. I would make a motion that we not allow that. That could possibly address some of that health concerns, and then it allows the city to maintain control over ventilation, proper use and containment.
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved by Counselor Hidalgo-Ferry that we do not allow an outdoor consumption area, seconded by Counselor McCoy. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. So that passes unanimously with me in opposing. That does not pass unanimously. It was 6-1 with me opposing. Mamma mia.
All right, then I think that's all of our questions. Unless you all have any more direction, it does sound like we will bring back an ordinance. We've worked kind of hard tonight to not bring back an ordinance. Is that correct?
So this is one that's going to take a little bit of time to, we obviously have to do some research and then rewrite the ordinances, so it's going to take us a little bit of time to bring this one back to you all.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you all for sticking with us.
Yeah, and all our craziness up here. Oh, my goodness. So the next thing on our agenda is Longmont Housing Authority. May I please have a motion to adjourn as LHA Board of Commissioners?
So moved?
Okay, it's been moved by Counselor Martin, seconded by Counselor Yarbrough, that we recess as the Longmont City Council and convene as the Longmont Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. And we are going to be addressing the Longmont Housing Authority Advisory Board appointments.
Mayor and council, I did email you all a ballot for the Housing Authority Advisory Board appointments. You could also try and tackle it by motion if you like, or we could pause for a moment so everybody can get their vote in. This is logging in through your email to do your voting. Did everybody get in?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh. Just email that.
Does she? Councilmember Martin has her hand raised, sounds like.
Counselor Martin?
Yes, I just wanted to say that, based on the premise established by, Councilmember Waters the last time we did this, I was unable to attend the interviews, and so I believe that I should not vote on these appointments. But I respect the recommendations made by the several boards and commissions.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mayor and Council, so everybody's votes are in, I believe. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So the first ballot was for 3 regular member terms ending June 30th, 2027. It does look to me like Councilmember Christ voted twice. Which makes it hard for me. So we'll read, Glenn Pepper received 6 votes. Carrie Snow received 6 votes. And Melissa Berry received 5 votes. And I reduced the duplicate voting from Councilmember Chris there. So your appointees for the 3 regular member terms are Melissa Berry, Glenn Pepper, and Carrie Snow. The next one is for the 1 unexpired term ending June 30th, 2025. And there are 5 votes for do not appoint. And then Councilmember Christie voted twice on that one as well, sorry. So 1 vote for Melissa Berry. So the 5 do not appoint takes that, and we will not appoint that housing, that unexpired term. Questions? That's the end of those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I move to adjourn as the Longmont Housing Authority Board of Commissioners and reconvene as the Longmont City Council.
Second. It's been moved by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Christ, that we reconvene as the Longmont City Council. All those in favor? Let's vote. I think.
All right, Mayor and Council, the next item
That
is.
passes unanimously.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
I've jumped ahead of you. I apologize. Now we're on to the City Council Advisory Board. I've sent you a ballot for that as well. It looks like we've already, Councilmember Christ, you've already voted. Councilmember Rodriguez, we've got yours showing, and Mayor Peck. So if everybody else would complete your votes and then take a moment to do your voting, and then we'll go through those.
Is it the same link as the last one?
I sent you a new link.
A brand new?
Brand new link. Yes, yes.
Okay.
New ballot, new meeting.
Okay, got it.
Go back.
Changing the new language. We're just extending and the impact to staff. It's going to be a long process. That's what I thought. Did you vote against it? Mm-hmm. Okay. Convince her to withdraw.
All right, looks like we're ready to roll. We have 6 votes. Councilmember Martin did not vote on these, so a vote of if 4 will make that appointment. So on Art and Public Places Commission, 5 regular member terms ending June 30th, 2027. You had 5 candidates, and you unanimously selected those 5 candidates. So Iris Hannon, Susan Jaggers, Michelle Jones, Jenny Rabelino, and Scott Toylian will all be appointed to Art and Public Places for that term ending June 30th, 2027. That one was easy. The next one is for the General Employees Retirement Pension Plan. We have 1 at-large member term ending June 30th, 2029. You had 4 different candidates. By a vote of 4, Greg Wagner was chosen by Aaron Rodriguez, Diane Christ, Susie Doggo-Faring, and Shakita Yarbrough. And so he is your appointee to the at-large seat. On the GURP also, you have an employee member term ending June 30th, 2029. You had 1 candidate, Roberto Luna, and everybody voted, all 6 of you voted to reappoint Roberto Luna, so he will be reappointed to GURP. Next is Historic Preservation Commission. We only had 1 applicant, Don Terrick. So the question was different. It was, which term would you like to appoint Dawn to? Because there are 3 vacancies on that board. And you all voted to appoint her to the unexpired regular member term ending December 31st, 2027. One person voted not to appoint, and that was Councilmember McCoy. So Don Terrick will take that 2027 term on the HPC. Library Advisory Board, we had 1 regular member term ending June 30th, 2027, and 1 candidate, Nicole Gallifrey, and all 6 of you voted to appoint Nicole Gallifrey. So Nicole will be serving on the Library Advisory Board. The next was the MOPC Pension Board. We had 1 regular member term expiring June 30th, 2027, and one applicant, Matthew Bolkovats. You all voted, all 6 votes went for Matthew to be reappointed to the MOPC. Museum Advisory Board, we have 2 regular member term vacancies for terms ending June 30th, 2027. There are 3 candidates for the 2 terms. 6 of you voted to reappoint Robert Lee, so Robert Lee will be reappointed. 5 voted to appoint Caitlin Kennan, and the 1 dissenting was, let me just see, Councilmember Christ voted differently, but Caitlin Kennan will take that 2nd seat for the term ending June 30th, 2027. The Museum Advisory Board also has an unexpired regular member term ending June 30th, 2025. And 5 of you voted to appoint Bruce Katuna to that seat since he was not appointed to the regular member seats. And so Bruce will be appointed there, and Councilmember Chris voted differently on that one. Voted for Caitlin Kennan, just for the record. The next board is Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. 1 unexpired regular member term ending December 31st, 2026. We have 5 votes here. So I'm missing a vote from Councilmember McCoy, or I'm sorry, Councilmember Christ on question number 9. Do you want to go in and vote question number 9, Parks and Rec Advisory Board, unexpired? Maybe it just didn't save, I'm not sure.
It's not taking me to the form, so I think it says I've done it.
You have 4 votes for Hannah Mulroy. And then, go ahead. So 5 votes for Hannah Mulroy and 1 for Mindy Mullen. So Hannah Mulroy will be appointed to that term on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. We're making progress. The next board is Sustainability Advisory Board. 3 regular member terms ending June 30th, 2027. All 6 of you voted, you had various applicants, 1, 2, 3, 7 or 8 applicants? 7. All 6 voted for Korkut Onaran to be appointed, so that he will be appointed. 5 of you voted for Daniel Leonard, and 5 voted to reappoint Robert Davidson. So those will be your appointees. A couple people had different votes. Councilmember Christ voted for Allgreen and Hodges. And those were the 2 outlying votes. So Davidson, Honoran, and Leonard will take your 3 regular member term seats on Sustainability Advisory Board. Then the next one is also Sustainability Advisory Board, the unexpired regular member term ending June 30th, 2026. We have no clear winner here, so we will need to re-vote that one. And we will just come back to that. I'm going to skip that one. I'll send you a new ballot. Transportation Advisory Board, 3 regular member terms ending June 30th, 2027. You have 5 applicants. 6 of you voted to appoint Steve Lehner, so Steve Lehner will be appointed. 6 voted for David McInerney, he will be appointed. And 4 voted for Alexander Kalkoffer, so he would be appointed. And then the couple outlying votes, there was 1 vote for Daniel Leonard and 1 for Jacob Arment. And I was trying to see whose those were to share that with you for the record. But I don't see it. Maybe I'm tired. There is 1 vote. Oh, okay. 1 vote for Daniel Leonard from Councilmember Christ. 1 vote for Jacob Arment from Councilmember McCoy. So your 3 appointees are Lehner, McInerney, and Kalkoffer. Sorry about that. The last one is the Water Board, 1 regular member term ending June 30th, 2029. 1 applicant, Scott Holwick, and all 6 voted to appoint Scott Holwick. So Scott will be appointed. So we just have 1 we need to work on. Could possibly do it by motion. Sustainability Advisory Board, the unexpired regular member term. Robert Davidson got a vote, but he was already appointed, so he's not. So your candidates would be Jeffrey Allgreen, Gary Hodges, Alexander Kalkoffer, or Martin Orner. Correct. He was appointed, yes. So Green, Hodges, or Orner would be your three. Do you want to do that by motion? For Green? I didn't hear that. Okay. Sustainability Advisory Board. It's the unexpired, it's question 11 on this
Okay.
ballot. Unexpired regular member term ending June 30th, 2026.
So Ethan Augreen was supported for that?
He was recommended? by the
Recommended.
board, yes. Mhm.
Councilor McCoy made the motion, and it was seconded by Councilor Hidalgo Ferrick. Any questions from council? Seeing none, let's vote. I'm so tired.
You could just raise your hands if you like, or
All those
so
in
you're doing a
favor?
vote.
All those opposed?
So that passes 5-1. Councilmember Rodriguez in opposition. So Green will take that Sustainability Advisory Board unexpired term, and that's it. All done.
Very much for that. I guess we're done. I can't tell. Are we finished, Dawn?
My apologies, I've been distracted. Yes,
Yes.
that is all we need. Thank
Well,
you.
I
Thank
thought
you.
the two of you were coming up with something to tell us. That's
No,
why
thank
I
you,
waited.
sorry. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're at final call, public invited to be heard. If you would like to come up, Lance?
Mayor and council, I have listened to your proposal on cannabis hospitality, and I would like to clarify that it is not a restaurant that I'm proposing, but a soda shop. So all the soda that would be sold in the establishment would be contained, maintained, or made off-site. It just would be a variety of different sodas, and it wouldn't be added to the sodas or anything else like that. It would be more mocktails to stay away from any kind of alcohol consumption. I do not drink alcohol, so and as for concentrates, a lot of your THC values are through the roof on concentrates and topicals, whereas flower has very little concentrate of THC values. You're below 20%, whereas some of your concentrates are up over 90% in value of THC. So a lot more research, I think, needs to be done by the council. I originally proposed that you do put a cap in so that we can see as a city how much effect this actually has, both economically and, throughout our streets and our public. And that's why I originally proposed the cap. I do not want you guys to just open this up to everybody in the state also. I feel that maybe there would be other people that in the state who may be, richer and looking for, riches, rather than looking after the city itself and its citizens. I've been a long-term citizen of Longmont, Colorado, and I've seen Longmont grow up from a small town to a big city. And I worry about this council not being properly educated about cannabis. I would like also for you guys to please remove the word marijuana and replace it with cannabis. Marijuana has a lot of history behind it, especially within the Black and Hispanic cultures. And the reason why is back in 1920. So if you guys please do your research on this before you guys vote, I would highly recommend that, because I feel that I know you guys don't understand it completely and it confuses you a lot, but I urge you, there's lots of research, there's lots of lab work now going on, now that it has become legalized in Colorado. And that's why we originally proposed it for legalization in the state, was so that the lab work and the research could be done. So, like I said, I feel that the council is misguided on this in a lot of different ways. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Lance. Is there anyone else in the audience? Sherry Malloy.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Sherry Malloy, 1632 Sherman Way. Not really prepared, so I'm going to be a little bit scattered, but our group, Stand With Our St. Frank Creek and Open Space, has been working on advocating for making our open space sales tax extension permanent, or just permanent, for the last year. We've been at all the events, educating the public, engaging the public about this, speaking to you. We've had over 1,000 people sign an appeal asking you to put this issue before the voters, which is a survey. 6 of you voted to do that 3 weeks ago. The one dissenting person now brings up that, hey, let's do a survey. There's no time. Staff is supposed to bring back this language in 2 weeks. It needs to be finalized with the clerk by August. To throw in a survey now is ridiculous. I'm asking the 5 of you that voted for it, for one of you to talk about reconsideration of it. You didn't have any discussion. That seems very disrespectful of staff who has to do this. No talk of timelines. To talk about to have residents give input on what ballot language must be. I've never heard of such a proposal. So I would ask you to reconsider it tonight, get some staff input, discuss it, and show some consideration for, the 1,000 residents who would like to see this voted on, and not, dink around with it like this and do this stall tactic that is just really without merit in my opinion. So that's my ask. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for the opportunity. Greg Morrissey at 1648 Harvard Street. And all the talk about marijuana, and we're going to make it, looks like we're going to make it legal in the city. Is there any research being done about if people go out and want to have some marijuana and consume alcohol at the same time? What happens to them? Are there going to be rules against that? If you're consuming alcohol, don't take marijuana. If you're taking marijuana, don't consume alcohol. Are you going to be an individual who's not going to have everything you need upstairs to drive, etc.? And I want to know if there's city's done some research on that, or the people who did the presentation might have done research on that. If you're going to make this available, I'll go to the shop, buy my marijuana, then go to my alcohol shop and drink my alcohol. How's that going to affect the people? And I think there should be some more talk about it. And is there research on it? The state done research on it? And if we go to bring it into the city, should be an education on it, and don't do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jamie?
Jamie Simo, 517 Independence Drive. I'm extremely disappointed in City Council for choosing to delay putting the open space sales tax extension on the ballot this November, so they can put out a survey so citizens can vote on whether they're allowed to vote on the measure. I and my fellow activists have worked tirelessly this last year to gather signatures in favor of putting the sales tax measure on the ballot, and over 1,000 people enthusiastically said yes. This was already an informal survey, and more importantly, so is November's ballot. Putting out a survey on this measure is a gross misuse of city funds and staff time. Residents of Longmont have consistently ranked open space and natural areas in their top priorities when surveyed. In addition, the open space sales tax was passed and then extended in 2007 with overwhelming support. Neither the original passage nor the extension were subject to a survey, so why is one required now? If you want to put out a survey, put out a Facebook survey, which is cheap and easy. I really don't see how you expect that more people will respond to a city survey than vote in the election. It seems to me there's a lot of overlap between those who don't vote and those who don't respond to city surveys, and the same for those who do vote and those who fill out city surveys. So really, this is a delay tactic for some unfathomable reason. Please reconsider and let Longmont citizens vote whether to make our open space sales tax permanent.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address council? Seeing none, we'll go to council comments. Councilor Yarbrough.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess myself, when I asked about bringing forth more about the survey, I guess I don't know what I was thinking, but they make a lot of sense. They did have petitioners, and I thought we did already vote on that. And so I want to reconsider my vote because the work has already been done, and we just want to extend it permanently. So I am totally in agreement with that. So
Do you want to make a motion?
I'm making a motion to reconsider the vote of the survey. I want to remove the survey from extending, having a survey for extension of the vote, the tax.
Okay.
I know that was all jacked up, but you know what I mean.
I do.
I know Eugene looking at me like.
It's been a crazy meeting for misstating things.
Mayor and Council, Eugene May, City Attorney. If I understand what you're trying to accomplish, I would have a motion to reconsider the vote on the survey. If that passes, you are at the point in time right before you voted on the survey motion, and then you could re-vote on the survey motion. I think that's
So we have two motions tonight.
Right.
Okay.
Well, if the motion to reconsider passes,
Right.
then you're at the point voting on the survey motion.
Okay. So do you want to restate that motion?
Sure. I want to make a motion of reconsideration of making staff create a survey for the extension of the tax.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so Councilor Yarbrough moved to reconsider the vote on the survey motion for the extension of the sales tax, of the open space sales tax. Councilor Christ.
So thanks for your feedback. Got a variety of feedback, not just from the public. But my original reason for doing this is my concern at first was that we don't have much time before November to get this on the ballot. And we were just spitballing ideas of ways to get the information out to the public. And actually, we have this new ability to just automatically do a survey, which we had presented at an earlier, I think, a council meeting in June. So it's not too hard to get it out. We do have a motion from Councilor Martin that we need to work on the language, and so that was information that might help us with that, with creating language. And it was just mostly actually a way to accelerate it rather than it gets to be November and nobody's heard that we're doing this. So I'm okay with either. We can reconsider it if that's what you feel is appropriate.
Okay, seeing no one else in the queue for this vote, let's vote. And that passes unanimously. Counselor Yarbrough, now do you want to make the motion to withdraw?
I don't
the-
need, I don't need to, it goes back. Eugene?
The motion's already
He's-
technically made.
Okay.
Right, Mayor, it's like the motion is pending it's a pending motion
Okay.
to do the survey. So you could just vote on the pending motion.
That's what I was,
Okay, so we're getting it.
that's what I was
You
saying.
don't need to make a motion.
I'm not making
I don't know.
What am I saying, Eugene? Oh, I don't have to say anything?
You've actually gone back to the point before the vote occurred the last time, so you just have to re-vote on the motion this time.
So, Counselor Chris, why don't you restate the motion that you had said originally, and then we can vote on it.
It was a long time ago. I know.
Turn it
I
on.
don't think it was said loud to begin with. So, my motion was to have a survey regarding the extension of the open space sales tax so that we could build some enthusiasm for it.
Second.
Mayor Peck?
Yes?
So just a clarification for the public, a vote against this is to not, okay, not have the survey.
Seeing no discussion, nobody in the queue to discuss, let's vote. I seconded it. So it's been moved by Diane Christ and seconded by myself to have a survey on the extension of the open space sales tax. Let's vote.
It just seems so.
Sometimes I've changed.
It's getting,
It just seems so inauthentic.
Yeah.
that motion failed unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Jamie and Sherry. Oh, my gosh.
Mayor, since you're on this topic and looking at timing,
I'm sorry. Can you
since we're on
repeat
this
that?
topic, I wanted to bring up the timing of when this is going to come back to you. So we're bringing it on the 23rd of July for what we call the zero reading of the ordinance. And then it'll be voted on the regular sessions in August, the first and the last regular session of August. It is due to the county on September 6th. So we can meet the timelines, but we're bringing the zero reading on the 23rd.
Great, thank you. Well, are there any other city council comments? Seeing none, we're going to city manager,
No comments, Mayor,
city
Council.
attorney.
No comments, Mayor.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor McCoy, seconded by Councilor Chris, that we adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, don't you dare, Aaron.